On July 16, 2026, in a packed arena in Shenzhen, China, the world of sports changed forever. A robot named Matador had its head kicked clean off by an opponent called White Eagle, and it kept fighting anyway, throwing punches with its head swinging loose from a few exposed cables. In any human sport, that's a horror story. In this new league, it's the clip that broke the internet, racking up hundreds of millions of views across platforms within days. For years, we've watched movies like Real Steel and wondered when the future would actually show up. Well, look around. Between massive prize pools, sold-out crowds in Las Vegas, and state-backed tech pushes out of China, humanoid robot combat isn't a novelty act anymore. It's shaping up to be a billion-dollar industry. But as these machines get faster, stronger, and more autonomous, we have to ask, is this just entertainment? Or are we watching the birth of a technology that eventually replaces human athletes and maybe even changes the nature of warfare itself? Stick around, because we're going inside the ring to see how this started, who's winning the robotic arms race, and why the United Nations is already sounding the alarm about what happens when these athletes don't need a human pilot at all. In this video, we're breaking down the 2026 humanoid combat explosion. We'll look at the ultimate robot knockout legend, URKL, out of China, and its scrappier American rivals, UFB and REK. You'll see how a sudden surge in robotics funding turned novelty demos into a real multi-league professional sport. We'll dig into whether a machine can ever replace the emotional pull of a human athlete, walk through the engineering inside these fighters, and close on the fight happening far from any arena, at the United Nations. This is the story of how robot combat became one of the fastest growing sports on the planet. The spark that ignited this industry wasn't a marketing campaign, it was a decapitation. On URKL's opening night, the world watched in morbid fascination as Matador kept throwing punches while its own head swung loose from its neck, before finally toppling over and crushing it underneath its own body weight. That single clip did more for this sport than a decade of R&D. It proved robot combat offers something human sports structurally can't: extreme, visceral violence with zero human harm. A human fighter in that condition gets rushed to the hospital. A robot gets wheeled to the repair bay for next week's card. That gap is the entire business model. And it's exactly why the sport can push boundaries that would get shut down in the UFC or boxing. But a viral clip doesn't build an industry by itself. Behind this moment sits a much bigger story, one written in venture capital dollars. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Robot combat is riding the coattails of a genuine industrial boom. Humanoid robot shipments saw their biggest year-over-year jump in history in 2025, and by early 2026, robotics startups had already pulled in tens of billions of dollars in fresh funding. Companies like Unitree, BYD and Tesla are racing to drive R&D costs down, and these fighting leagues have quietly become their stress test. Think Formula One, but for robotics. China's government is explicitly using leagues like URKL to pressure test motion control, balance and durability under real combat conditions. Every punch that lands on a chassis generates data that feeds straight back into the next generation of machines, the ones headed for factory floors, warehouses, and, as more than a few people fear, the battlefield. So who's actually building these things, and who's fighting for a piece of the ring? Turns out, two very different countries have two very different answers. East versus West. Two philosophies, one ring. There's a genuine national rivalry playing out here. In the East, URKL is a state-linked push where 32 teams from around the world compete on a single standardized platform, the T800, built by Shenzhen-based Engine AI. That levels the hardware playing field. Victory comes down to software and motion control skill, not whoever has the biggest titanium budget. A belt worth 10 million yuan, roughly $144 million. In the West, leagues like UFB and REK are playing a different game entirely. These are human-piloted. Gamers behind controllers or VR headsets moving the robots in real time. It's less autonomous AI showcase, more esports made physical. Where URKL is a high-tech industrial testbed with state backing, the US leagues are scrappy, VC-funded entertainment plays that have already sold out 2,500-seat venues in San Francisco and Las Vegas. Same sport, two completely different bets on where the money and the audience actually is. And the hardware at the center of the Chinese bet is worth a closer look. To keep fights fair, URKL standardizes every team on the same chassis, the T800, a roughly 5.8 humanoid built specifically for this kind of punishment. And scoring isn't just last robot standing. Judges grade across 4 categories: effective strikes, body stability, defensive ability, and overall durability. Closer to how you judge an MMA bout than a demolition derby. Right now, these machines are still clumsy at the kind of improvisational movement a human fighter does on instinct. Reading an opponent, adjusting mid-strike, recovering balance on the fly. But the data pouring out of every match is closing that gap fast. Engineers have gone from stiff, cautious sparring to a kick that can knock a robot's head clean off in under 12 months of development. That leap from clunky demo to genuinely dangerous machine is exactly why this whole thing feels less like a gimmick and more like something out of the movies. For anyone in their 20s who grew up on real steel, this is the dream made literal. Watching a full-size humanoid trade blows in an arena isn't a CGI fantasy anymore. It's a Thursday night in Shenzhen. But there's one thing the movie's got that reality hasn't figured out yet: the soul of the machine. On screen, there's an emotional bond between the kid and his robot. In the actual arena, roboticists point out that sports fandom is built on rooting for a person, their story, their struggle, their flaws. Can you really cheer for a T800 the way you cheer for a human fighter walking into the cage? Or is the robot just an expensive, replaceable tool wearing a fighter's name? That question, can we actually connect with these things, cuts straight into the bigger debate about whether robots can replace human athletes at all. So, will robots replace human sports? Most experts land on no, but for an interesting reason. Fans actually value human fallibility. We like that a golfer can miss a putt, that a fighter can gas out in the 3rd round. A robot landing every single strike with 100% precision might, ironically, be boring to watch. But that doesn't mean robot combat has no lane. It just has a different one. No concussion liability, no career-ending injuries, no doping scandals, because there's nothing to hide. If your robot has a better motor, you don't cover it up, you brag about it. That's a cleaner, more transparent, more predictable product, and predictability is exactly what a betting market wants. Which brings us to where the real money in this sport is quietly starting to move. Because robot performance is driven by hardware specs and clean data rather than hidden injuries or unpredictable psychology, some in the industry think this becomes one of the most sophisticated betting markets in sports. Odds you can actually model, not just guess at. With confirmed prize pools already north of $1 million and venues in San Francisco and Las Vegas selling out faster than organizers can book them, demand is outpacing supply. We're watching a new kind of human-in-the-loop economy take shape in real time. Gamers becoming pro athletes, engineers becoming head coaches. All signs point to a real expansion through late 2026 and into 2027. But not everyone watching this industry grow is excited about it. Some of the most powerful people in the world are watching too, and they're not applauding. While fans are cheering decapitations, policy circles are sweating. The same clips going viral on TikTok are being analysed inside the United Nations. Secretary General Antonio Guterres has pointed directly to moments like this one in pushing for a global ban on lethal autonomous weapons systems. Laws, for short. Here's why it matters. The line between a sport robot that can autonomously land a head-height kick and a war robot that can autonomously identify and engage a human target is razor thin. When you watch a machine keep fighting after losing its head, you're not just watching a tough athlete. You're watching a machine that's been engineered to never quit until its power source is physically severed. That's not just a cool highlight reel. It's a preview of a much darker capability, And it's exactly why the UN is treating a sports league like a security briefing. Which raises the question nobody in that arena is asking out loud. How much faster and how much more autonomous does this get from here? As reaction times and predictive modeling keep improving, some in the industry believe fully autonomous fighters will eventually become far more dangerous than anything a human is piloting today. Machines moving faster than the eye can track, turning the ring into a blur of high-velocity steel. But for now, the strongest read is coexistence, not replacement. Robot combat offers something human sports simply can't. The ability to be completely destroyed on a Thursday and rebuilt in time for the next weekend's card. It's the purest expression of everything driving the 2026 robotics boom. State-linked industrial testing, high-stakes venture capital, and raw, visceral entertainment, all colliding in the same ring. Robot combat is no longer science fiction. It's a July 2026 reality merging high-stakes tech with the raw energy of the arena. Whether you see it as a thrilling new sport or a preview of autonomous warfare, one thing's certain. The machines are already in the ring, and they aren't leaving. In the future of sports, the most valuable athlete might not be the toughest one. It might just be the one you can reboot. Thanks for watching this one all the way through. This story's moving fast, and we wanted to get you caught up before it gets even stranger. If this helped it click for you, drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss where this goes next. And tell us in the comments, would you rather watch a human fight or a robot one? We're genuinely curious where this audience lands.